YouTube, how we doing, family? It's your boy Yo, and there's another episode of Yo Hoops. We go through every NBA game every day. Today's Saturday, February 8th, and we have an 11-game NBA card. I'm gonna walk you through every game, let you know which sides I like, and stick around, cause I'll let you know my highlighted play of the day. I do this every day for free, so make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite games in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's recap. Recapping yesterday, we dropped our highlighted play of the day. We took the Oklahoma City Thunder laying 19 points against the Toronto Raptors. The Thunder led by 22 points with 3 minutes left in the game. They blew the cover and only won by 12 points. I'm now 2-5 on our highlighted plays. I've dropped 5 in a row. I almost can't believe it, but I promise you guys the comeback is going to be greater than the setback. We're not going to harp on that too much. Let's knock it out. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. In our first matchup, we have the Houston Rockets in Dallas taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Mavs are laying 4.5 points, and the total is 226. This will be the debut of Anthony Davis in a Mavs jersey. I'm excited to see this one. Looking at the injury reports here, the Mavericks will be without Derek Lively, Dwight Powell, and Caleb Martin. The Rockets will be without Fred VanVleet, Cody Zeller, and Jabari Smith. Houston has hooped as road underdogs. They're now 8-3-1 against the spread in this spot. The problem for me is they haven't played well recently. They're now on a 5-game losing skid, losing twice to the Nets in those 5 games, and the Nets are banged up. This is a new, fired-up Mavs team who just upset the Celtics as 12-point underdogs in their last game. I don't think the Rockets can keep up in this one, especially with AD going. We're taking the Mavs laying the 4.5 as our first selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Indiana Pacers in LA taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. Pacers are laying 4 points, and the total is 231.5. The Lakers have been hooping ever since trading AD. They've now won 4 straight games, covering against the spread in all 4 meetings. The problem in this one for me is their injury report. Looking at the IR, Luka and Maxi Kleber are still out. Luka should make his debut this Monday. And then Mark Williams and Austin Reeves are questionable, and LeBron James is doubtful. He likely will not go in this one. The Pacers are without Miles Turner, but he went down in the first quarter of their last game against the Clippers, and the Pacers still won outright as 6-point underdogs. The Clips are the best team in the league at home, well, the second best now. A lot of people have high hopes for this Lakers team, which I think makes sense, but with them being this banged up, I have to ride with the Pacers in this spot. If they can't beat the Lakers with no LeBron, no Luka, and no Big, then the Pacers are in trouble this season. I see them getting the job done. We're taking the Pacers laying the 4 as our highlighted selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Atlanta Hawks in Washington taking on the Washington Wizards. Hawks are laying 4.5 points, and the total is 236.5. Both of these teams come into this game on the second leg of back-to-backs, and both of them got the job done yesterday. The Wizards have now covered against the spread in 4 straight outings, but so have the Hawks. The Hawks are on a 4-game ATS win streak too. The injury reports are tentative for this game due to both of the teams being on back-to-backs, but like I said yesterday, there are so many moving parts from these trades that you guys got to keep an eye on who's playing, who's going throughout the day, because there's been so many trades throughout the league. At the end of the day, in this game, I trust Trae Young in a close game more than almost any player in the league. Jordan Poole dropped 45 points yesterday, and the Wizards still lost by 10 points. That being said, I don't even think Poole drops 30 here, so we're taking the Hawks laying the 4.5 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the San Antonio Spurs in Orlando taking on the Orlando Magic. Magic are laying 3 points, and the total is 219.5. Orlando. This is a tough team to figure out. The Magic are just 1-4 in their last 5. I want to fade them, but the Spurs doesn't seem like the team to start fading them. The Spurs come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back. Now they're flying to Orlando. They lost a heartbreaker last night against the Charlotte Hornets yesterday, and the Spurs were laying 10.5 points. They lost the game outright. We were on the Spurs in that one. Wemby's conditioning is always an issue just because he's so tall and so young, not used to so many games in an NBA season. He typically plays limited minutes on back to backs. When I look at how the Spurs as a team have performed, they're now just 2-5 straight up on the season with no rest. So they're losing vast majority of their games in this spot. I think at home, where we know Orlando plays their best ball, they finally get an ATS win here. We're taking the Magic laying the 3 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Golden State Warriors in Chicago taking on the Chicago Bulls. Warriors are laying 6.5 points, and the total is 235.5. Warriors are finally getting back healthy here. Road favorites is typically not their spot, though. Now they're just 3-5-1 against the spread, laying points on the road. Chicago has been much better on the other side as home dogs. In this spot, getting points at home, the Bulls are 9-7-1 ATS. I'll let you guys know in the last few videos that in 2025, the Bulls have been on a pretty consistent win one, lose one pattern, and we've been cashing or calling them correctly following that pattern. They lost to the Timberwolves in Minnesota in their last outing. So I won't be surprised following the trend if they get an outright win in this one. We want the points in our back pocket though, so we're taking the Bulls plus the 6.5 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder in Memphis taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. Thunder are laying 2.5 points and the total is 241.5. This is a heavyweight battle right here. The number 1 and number 2 teams in the West going head to head. I'll definitely be tuned in. OKC does come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back. We know that they were our highlighted play yesterday, so keep in mind they're on no rest. While this certainly will be a competitive game, this one comes down to what we know Memphis does at home. After OKC's loss at home against the spread yesterday, Memphis is now the best home team in the league. Overall, they're 18-8 against the spread, and as home underdogs getting points in this spot, they're 2-0. They haven't let down being dogs at home all season. I'm not in a rush to fade OKC. They are a great team, but I do believe Memphis is the right side here. We're taking the Grizzlies plus the 2.5 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Portland Trailblazers in Minnesota taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Wolves are laying 5.5 points, and the total is 216. These are two teams that have had dramatically different results from a betting perspective recently. The Blazers are now 13-9-1 against the spread as road dogs, but they've now covered in 11 straight games. That's crazy. 11 straight ATS. The Wolves burning cash in this spot. As home favorites, they're now 6-17 ATS, and they got a win in their last one, so that's even better than the last video we made. No team lets down more than the Wolves laying points at home. The Wolves injury report is slightly concerning here as well. Anthony Edwards and Mike Conley are both questionable for this game. I do need to see if Ant goes, but if he does, I lean to the Timberwolves. I can't lie to you guys. They're the better team, and while the Blazers are hot, I don't know if they can cover 15 games in a row. They're going on their 12th ATS cover in a row. It is catching a falling knife, but I don't think Portland is that dominant of a team where they can keep this up forever. The point spreads are getting smaller. The books are catching on. 5 points isn't much to have in your back pocket, so we're taking the Wolves laying the 5.5 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Boston Celtics in New York taking on the New York Knicks. Celtics are laying 3 points, and the total is 232.5. This is going to be another fun one to watch here. These are the number 2 and number 3 teams in the East going head to head. Boston comes into this one fully healthy, and looking at the Knicks injury report, OG Anunoby is doubtful. Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson are probable, so keep an eye. These two teams did face off on October 22nd of last year, a few months ago, and the Celtics aired them out 132-109. I do think the Celtics are the better team. And even though they lost their last game outright as 12-point favorites against the Mavericks, they have been exceptional this season coming off a loss. So when I look at the game after the Celtics got an outright loss, they're 12-3 against the spread this season. So they've been cashing. When they lose outright, they cover ATS the next game at like a 90% clip. They should be motivated and locked in here against the Knicks coming off that loss against the Mavs. So we're taking the Celtics laying the 3 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the Denver Nuggets in Phoenix taking on the Phoenix Suns. Nuggets are laying 4 points and the total is 237.5. We know we typically can't trust the Suns at home. While they are 8-16 against the spread at home this season, they are 3-2 ATS as home underdogs. So they're normally not getting points at home, and they are slightly profitable when they are. They come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, failing to cover last night against the Utah Jazz. But like I'm saying, it was because they're laying points. They did win the game. The Nuggets injury report, when I look, is very concerning here. So they are without Peyton Watson and Russell Westbrook, but now Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, and Michael Porter Jr. are all questionable. So all of them could or could not go in this one. Kevin Durant didn't play last night for the Suns, but he is questionable here, so I'm assuming it was a look-ahead spot for this game. Denver's just 7-12 against the spread as road favorites, and I think banged up here, the Suns can at least compete, if not win the game outright. So we're taking the Suns plus the 4 as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our next matchup, we have the New Orleans Pelicans in Sacramento taking on the Sacramento Kings. Kings are laying 7 points, and the total is 237.5. The new look Kings haven't looked too good so far. They got aired out in both games since Zach LaVine's came to the team by the Blazers and the Magic. They got aired out. The Pelicans are still banged up, missing Herb Jones and DeJounte Murray, but I still think they can compete here. These two teams faced off on December 12th of 2024, and the Kings won 111-109. So it was a closely contested contest, and that was with their old squad playing pretty well at the time. They only won by 2 points. I see this being a similar result where the Kings probably win this game by 4 or 5 points, but you don't want to lay extended lines with Sacramento at home. They're just 8-12-3 against the spread in that spot. This isn't my favorite game on the board, but I'm leaning towards the Pelicans getting the 7 points as our next selection of today. Let's move. In our last and final matchup of the evening, we have the Utah Jazz in LA taking on the LA Clippers. Clippers are laying 15.5 points, and the total is 224.5. The Jazz come into this one banged up and on the second leg of a back-to-back. Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, and Cody Williams are all ruled out for Utah, and then the rest of the injury report is tentative based on it being a back-to-back. The Clippers come into this game healthy. After losing their last game in LA outright against the Pacers, I think they bounce back at home in a big way. The Clippers are still 12-5 against the spread as home favorites. They've been killers in this spot. And if both teams were at full strength, I think they're far better than Utah. Here, with the Jazz being banged up, I think the Clippers absolutely air them out. We're taking the Clippers laying the 15.5 as our last and final selection of the evening. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. The losing streak continues. Hey, if you guys got to fade me, do what you got to do, because losing 5 in a row is crazy in itself. I'm going to keep putting in the work, though, and I'm going to make it my mission to get us positive by the end of February for the month. You know, in the new year in 2025, we are still positive, but this month, I'm going to get our record back in order. I'm going to keep putting in the work and doing what I do. Thank you again for rocking with me. I do this every day for free, so make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo! And until the next one, I'm going to catch y'all. Peace.